Gardening is an ideal way to celebrate the earth, so I want to tell you about my new greenhouse. This latest addition to my farm in Bedford is actually a cool house where crops can be grown all winter long with a minimum of fossil fuel being consumed. We documented the planning and construction of the greenhouse to share with you, so please take a look. I've always loved greenhouses, so when I bought my farm, one of the first things I did was have one built. This greenhouse holds my collection of ornamental plants. I wanted a new structure for the sole purpose of growing vegetables. So last summer, construction began on a new greenhouse. The foundation was covered in stone, and the framework, made of powder-coated aluminum painted in Bedford gray, began to go up. It was like putting together a giant erector set. Next, the glass went in, piece by piece. Not an easy task. After months of construction, pipes and stones were put down for drainage. A huge mound of soil, which had been excavated when the greenhouse and other structures on the property were built, was sifted to remove rocks and sticks. The sifted soil was then put directly into the greenhouse, about 2 feet deep. We're now ready to make vegetable beds right in the ground. Well, welcome to the new greenhouse. This is actually going to be a cool house, which means it will be heated only enough by mechanical means to keep the ground from freezing and the plants that are going to be in here from freezing. I've always wanted a house like this, especially after meeting Elliot Coleman up in Maine. He grows in cool houses all year long, the most beautiful, the freshest, the most delicious vegetables. Elliot Coleman is a renowned expert on organic farming and, with his wife Barbara Damrosch, owns Four Season Farm. The farm produces vegetables year-round and has become a nationally recognized model of small-scale sustainable agriculture. That's really what I'm trying to do here. I am going to grow vegetables for my own use all year long. And Jody and Erica are preparing the beds. Come back in a couple of weeks and you'll see vegetables growing, and we're going to be very happy when that all happens. In order to create the best growing conditions, the soil must be amended. I instructed Erica and Jody to use Elliot Coleman's soil recipe. The first step was applying about 2 inches of peat moss.
Peat moss is a great soil conditioner and that aerates and lightens the soil. It's really, really dry, but when it's wet, it holds a lot of moisture, and it also absorbs nutrients that are in the soil, releasing them back to the plant when the plant needs them.
Jody used a tilther designed by Elliot Coleman to incorporate the peat moss into the soil.
You want to stand back so I don't tilter you into the soil?
Tilth refers to the structure and quality of cultivated soil. A drill powers the 2-inch blades. This is just deep enough to mix in the peat moss. Any deeper, and the structure of the soil could be damaged. The next step was adding colloidal phosphate and kelp. Phosphate builds long-term soil fertility and promotes healthy roots.
Kelp is a sea plant, and it's dried and ground, and it's kind of like crop insurance for your beds. It's a vitamin supplement, and just overall gives you a very vigorous plant.
Next, Jody and Erica measured for the vegetable beds. I wanted each bed to be 30 inches wide with 14-inch pathways in between. They used a measuring tape, bamboo stakes, and twine.
We're going to define the pathways and the beds by scooping up the soil from the pathways and putting them on the beds. And this is the kind of bed that you're probably used to seeing, that kind of nice, raised, fluffy-looking beds in the vegetable garden. You have strong back muscles to do a job like this.
Exactly. Bend with the knees.
Bend with the knees.
After the beds were made, Erica used a broad fork to aerate the soil.
This is another Elliot Coleman invention. And it just kind of lifts and loosens the soil. That way it's much easier to plant. You've got a lot more oxygen for those roots.
Next, Erica added another amendment, alfalfa meal, which is high in nitrogen and trace minerals. It's a great soil conditioner.
This is Martha's gorgeous homemade compost. This is the result of proper composting of all the grass clippings, kitchen food scraps, greenhouse, and garden waste that we produced over last year.
After tilthering in the alfalfa meal and compost and raking the beds, it was finally time to plant. Erica planted the crops we started from seed a little more than a month ago.
Just gonna dig a little hole, push the soil around, and they're in.
While Erica was planting, Jody made some compost tea, which is a wonderful organic alternative to chemical fertilizers. Simply put, we place compost into a tank of water and brew it like tea. The final step after planting was watering and adding the compost tea.
Crops are in, beds are made, amendments are in. This is awesome.
It's very rewarding.
It is very rewarding. It'll be even more rewarding when we get to harvest these crops.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
High five.
High five, okay.
Good job.
Well, the greenhouse is thriving, and I have some photos of what it looks like now. You can see that things are growing in profusion, and I'm going to start eating wonderful vegetables very soon before the outdoor garden actually becomes productive. And I look forward to many, many more seasons of healthy crops 12 months a year. Coming up next, environmentalist Simon Seyti is here to talk about the truth about what's really in your drinking water and what you can do to protect yourself and your family.